Okay guys, so it's 3 o'clock in the morning as I record this. I'm dead tired. I was actually about to head to bed, but I decided to check Twitter and I just found out because of Twitter that apparently the spoilers for Black Clover chapter 268 actually got leaked about an hour ago. I took a quick look at them and decided I might as well make a video about it. But again, because of the fact that it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I am dead ass tired, I'm just going to be doing a voiceover for this video. I'm not going to have my webcam on. So yeah, sorry about that. But anyway, getting into the images, I'm actually surprised, and this is the reason actually why I wanted to make a video on this, because I was completely wrong about what we'd actually get from this week's chapter. I honestly thought, because of the fact that Tabata likes to troll us, or not even really troll us, but likes to, set up a big mystery, get us hyped for it, and then, just completely derail us from it. I thought maybe we wouldn't actually be diving into AMD's backstory with Asta's mom this early on. I honestly thought we'd be waiting until at least the halfway point of the fight between Asta versus Lucifero, just because obviously he has to have some kind of connection to AMD and Asta's mom's death. So I figured, we probably put this mystery on the back burner, or at the very least, we put the reveal of exactly what happened between Asta's mom and AMD on the back burner until we got to that fight. But apparently, Tabata decided to actually reveal it in this week's chapter, which I'm actually really excited for. If you don't already know, the chapter is actually going to be coming out officially from the Shonen Jump app 2 days early, so it's actually going to be officially translated on Friday of this week instead of waiting until Sunday. So I'm real excited now after looking into these leaks to see exactly what the dialogue is for this chapter and get the actual full story on the official release. But anyway, enough stalling, let's actually get into the leaks for this week's chapter. And looking at the leaks, it actually looks like we're actually going to be getting a bunch of snippets of AMD's memories from, I would assume, about 15 to 16 years ago when he was actually living with Asta's mom, and we actually get to see, which is surprising to me, this is actually a big reveal for the whole devil race in general, but we get to see a baby, or at the very least a toddler like AMD, and it seems like Asta's mom came across him at some point and she started raising him as if he was her own child, which really interesting. It completely throws out the idea that a lot of people had that AMD actually might be Asta's dad. Completely throws that idea out the window now that we know that he was basically a child that she was kind of raising. And we see the two of them are actually living together like a mother and son would. She really is raising him like he is her own child, which actually brings into question image we see later on in the spoilers, where basically I'm just going to talk about it now. We get this small panel where it looks like Asta's mom putting a basket down, and potentially this could be the scene of her basically giving up Asta, because at this point, based on something that happens on a later image we see, I'll get that in a bit, we have to assume that she had already given birth to Asta and had already given him away to Hage Village. So this little image that we have of her could actually be her basically putting Asta in the basket and then leaving him in Hage Village. Now that doesn't explain how him and Yuno ended up in the same basket and how the two of them were dropped out at the same time. But again, this little image could be that. Or potentially this could just be her actually finding AMD as a baby, and this could be where the two of them met, where he was abandoned. I don't know how a devil kid would actually be abandoned in the real world, but you could have found him as a baby abandoned and started raising him as her own child. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm actually kind of leaning a little bit more towards the idea that this is actually her meeting AMD or finding AMD for the first time. Because if you think about it, if she was willing to raise a devil's kid, this demonic looking child, as if he was her own son, then why would she abandon her actual own son? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, sure, there could be some kind of, circumstances that we're not aware of just yet, but realistically, it doesn't make a lot of sense why she would abandon her own child to raise another child, especially a demonic looking one like this one. But yeah, we get a lot of images of basically just her and AMD kind of just playing around, basically being kind of like a mother and son. And then we get to the heavy part of the flashback. And we see that, again, this is, we obviously don't have all the images for the chapter, so we don't know exactly what the context to this moment is. But seemingly out of nowhere, AMD starts to go a little bit wild. His powers start to go a little bit out of control. And we see this shadowy figure take over his body, or start, emitting from his body. Kind of the way we've always seen demons or devils be represented in the series. And we end up seeing that AMD eventually ends up getting possessed by a different devil. Now, the people on the website that actually I found the spoilers on are saying that this is actually Lucifero, which it very well could be, because the horns that we see on this devil actually does look similar to the horns that Lucifero has on the front of his head, but we don't see any side horns growing, which is actually something we know that Lucifero does have 4 horns, 2 long horns on the side that actually kind of curl, and 2 very long straight horns on his front. And these horns that we see on this devil are a little bit curved in the front, and we've only really seen Lucifero's horns from the front as well, so we don't know exactly if they might curve as well. But I'm leaning a little bit more towards this isn't Lucifero because of the fact that the horns don't exactly match. But at the same time, this would explain exactly why AMD has such hatred towards Lucifero, as we saw back in chapter 246, where we opened up that chapter to what at first I thought was actually just AMD basically just emitting its emotions to Asta, and Asta just kind of drowning in them. But now I'm thinking this actually might have been a little bit based off the dialogue that AMD was, throwing at Asta in that chapter in the beginning of it, where he was saying things like, "I'll kill you, you're not gonna get away with this," and stuff like that. I'm thinking maybe this actually might have been Asta getting another glimpse of the AMD's past. Maybe this would actually been like AMD remembering the emotions he was feeling at that moment when the big thing that happens in this chapter actually happens, which we might as well just jump right into it. Basically, what we end up finding out from the leaked images is that after AMD gets controlled by this devil, whoever it is, Asta's mom actually tries to fight back against it and actually tries to regain control over AMD, basically trying to convince him, assumingly trying to convince him to basically regain control of his body, or trying to basically argue that, this is a good kid, you have no right to take over his body, something along those lines. And while she is fighting against the devil that's possessing AMD, the devil stabs her right through the stomach. And then right after that happens, the devil that was possessing AMD just goes away, or at least in the next image we see that AMD's perfectly fine now, and we see Asta's mom is dying. I don't know what happened. There's like a small bottle in her hand on this last image that we have leaked, and I'm assuming that bottle might have had something to do with AMD being released from that devil's possession. But we don't know, obviously we don't know exactly what happened because we don't have the full page and we don't have the dialogue for it. But we can see that she's very clearly dying. AMD's actually crying over it. He's very sad about it. But the final image we actually get from that page is finding out that Asta's mom's actually leaving behind Asta's future grimoire, which is actually the grimoire that AMD is tied to. Now, I don't think this means that Asta's mom actually had a grimoire, that she was chosen by the grimoire at some point. I think that the reason why she had it is because of the fact that it was probably with AMD when she found him, that AMD obviously is connected to the grimoire because he dwells inside of it. So when she found him, obviously that was probably with him as well. So she was just kind of just holding on to it. But yeah, that's kind of the last image we have here. Let me double check real quick to make sure there's nothing else. Oh no, there is actually one extra image, and it's just Asta's mom crying and seemingly saying her final goodbyes to AMD right before she dies, and him just looking kind of sad. But yeah, that's really all we have from the chapter. We don't really have anything else. Obviously, we don't have any translated dialogue just yet. I'm really interested in finding out what happens on Friday's release. I mean, we can pretty much glean from the leaks what's going to end up happening in the chapter, but I'm interested in finding out exactly what the dialogue is. I'm interested in seeing the connection build between AMD and Asta's mom. And then I'm really interested in finding out the big question I have after looking at the leaks, and that is basically at what point did Asta's mom become pregnant with Asta? Because we don't see a dad or father-like figure for AMD in any of these leak images, so we don't know if Asta's mom was married. We don't know if she had a boyfriend or anything, and that's when she got pregnant. And because of the fact that we see that the devil that possesses AMD actually stabbed her right through the stomach, we could assume that if she actually was pregnant, which by the way she didn't even look like she was showing at this point, if she was. So if she actually was pregnant with Asta at this point, it is a complete miracle that he managed to survive this. But that's pretty much where I'm going to end the video for this leak video. I actually do have a theory based off this last image I'm seeing that I do want to kind of talk about, but I'm going to save it until I actually get the dialogue from the official translation on Friday to talk about this, so just wait until then. But just to give you a heads up, the theory is actually on the true origin of Asta, because after reading these leaks, I'm starting to rethink what actually might be going on with his backstory. But anyway guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below what we talk about the leaks, and I'll see you guys on Friday for the official release. Thanks, and I'll catch you later. Peace.